Donald Trump has abandoned Washington, D.C. yet again. He will be playing golf at the taxpayer expense at Bedminster today. But last night he was making posts like this. Diners at Casa Cipriani were applauding tonight as POTUS left. And it's a photo of people at a very exclusive and trendy New York social club, which costs about $4,000 either a year or a month to join. It's part of a 5-star hotel, and they are all applauding Donald Trump. And while the American people suffer and can barely afford groceries, if they can afford it at all, Donald Trump thinks that Casa Cipriani is what the American people want to see right now. By the way, I dug deeper into Casa Cipriani. So there's the exclusive members only club restaurant on top, but it's also a 5-star luxury room hotel that will cost you $9,550 for 4 nights. Must be really nice, Donald. Casa Cipriani. And meanwhile, you had MAGA Mike Johnson continuing to make posts about Club Rose Garden, how Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans ripped apart the Rose Garden from the People's House, from the White House, and they turned it into an exclusive social club, I guess kind of like Casa Cipriani, where they serve things like New York strip steak and caviar and all this lavish food at the taxpayer expense. So while American farmers are declaring bankruptcy, while American companies are going under, while Americans now face one of the worst job markets in history, while inflation is surging, while our GDP is decreasing, while we have Americans across the country psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck, this is the type of thing that Donald Trump is posting about. Casa Cipriani, everybody, they're cheering. The oligarchs are cheering for the oligarch. Are you freaking kidding me? But it gets worse. This morning, Donald Trump attacked Ukraine. In a social media post, he goes, "It is Biden's and Zelensky's war." You don't mention Putin. It is Biden and Zelensky's war. Oh, yes. Zelensky and Biden are to blame for Russia invading. I mean, what an utter pathetic traitor Donald Trump is. What a detestable, vile human being, piece of trash who deserves zero respect from us. Zero respect because he's a freaking traitor. I mean, look at this message right here. How could you interpret it any way differently? He goes on to say, a letter sent by Donald Trump to all NATO nations and the world. It's a social media post, you weak and pathetic, vile thing, you who are just playing golf again. He goes, I am ready to do major sanctions on Russia when all NATO nations have agreed and started to do the same thing, and when all NATO nations stop buying oil from Russia. As you know, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%. First off, the European country, I'm going to stop reading it because it's beyond, it's just more and more lies and disinformation. Europe has contributed more to the war than the United States. That's actually an undisputed fact right now. In addition, as you actually delve deeper here and we go into the actual facts, one of the things that you just did recently, Donald, was send a letter to Viktor Orban saying it made you very angry that Ukraine had struck Russian oil pipelines because Hungary and Slovakia use Russian oil. You said it disappointed you because you wanted Hungary and Slovakia to have that Russian oil. Also, Europe has significantly waned off of Russian oil. They haven't been perfect. There's more they need to do. But the big abusers who directly import, because Europe doesn't, the direct importers of Russian oil are Hungary and Slovakia. And you've told them to do it. You've encouraged them to do it. Here's the letter from Viktor Orban to you a few weeks back. This is Orban to you, and then you respond to him. 5 days ago, Orban writes, just before the historic meeting between Trump and Putin in Alaska, Ukraine carried out drone strikes on the Druzhba oil pipeline in Russia. Good! The pipeline supplies Hungary and Slovakia, two countries that have no other means of importing crude oil. I guess good! By your own terms, Donald, right? Hungary, Europe, even though they've been a big betrayal of Europe, right? I mean, so they're getting their oil from Russia. We don't want them to get their oil from Russia. And then it says Hungary supports Ukraine with electricity and petrol. In return, they bomb pipelines that supply us. Very unfriendly move, exclamation point. We wish Trump success in his pursuit for peace. Obviously, Viktor Orban's the authoritarian leader of Hungary, in case you didn't know that. And then Trump responds, Viktor, I do not like hearing this. I am very angry about it. Tell Slovakia, you are my great friend, Donald. Okay, so you just encourage them to go and get the Russian oil. And by the way, you've removed a lot of sanctions against Russia. You're bringing in Russian eggs, even though there's an egg shortage in Russia too, as American egg prices are going up. So it's all a bunch of BS because Donald Trump continues to move the goalposts. And by the way, as I said, could Europe, I guess, maybe have Europe stop importing a small fraction, 1% of the oil does come in from India, and India does buy from Russia, but it's a very small amount. And should Europe wane up? Yeah, so stipulated. But let's be clear that the U.S. is doing basically the same thing also. So what are we talking about here other than Donald Trump trying to appease Vladimir Putin? That's what is going down there. And by the way, I mean, have you seen this from Donald Trump yesterday? So when Donald Trump was asked, and this was over the past few days, he was asked questions about Charlie Kirk. So every time he's asked about Charlie Kirk now, he brings up the Ballroom. Like he doesn't want to talk about Charlie Kirk. Now that the killer was identified as coming from a Trump family in Utah, a Mormon family that had good relationships with the local Mormon church there, Donald Trump now wants. He didn't fit the profile. He didn't do all of this, but he was the 22-year-old white kid, and a lot of these killers that we've seen, the Butler assassination attempt, a lot of these school shootings are, 22-year-old, whether Christian to the religion aspect doesn't really matter, but a 22-year-old white kid. I mean, so Donald Trump is asked, what do you want to say? We know you were close with Charlie Kirk. We're building the ballroom. Here, play this clip.
Condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House.
And then another clip right here where Trump brags about the ballroom when he was on Fox this past week when asked about Charlie Kirk. He's asked about Charlie Kirk. Immediately he goes, ballroom, ballroom, ballroom. We're going to build this biggest ballroom. Play this clip.
He was very hurt when he saw this. But, I mean, everybody was. Oh, when I heard it, I was in the midst of, building for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects and with design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, what do you mean dead? Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, And I said, dead? You got.
By the way, additional details are coming out now about the fabricated mortgage fraud claim against the Federal Reserve governor, Lisa Cook, who Trump and his Fair Housing Administrator, Bill Pulte, tried to defame. The mortgage fraud claims against her are false now, per documents obtained by Reuters, Washington Post, and the Financial Times. Bill Pulte's accusation, the sole pretext Trump used to fire her from the Fed, was that she claimed two homes as her primary residence. These docs show she did not. By the way, even if she did, it's likely not a crime. But The documents show that she did not. As Joycelyn says, incredible. Trump drags the reputation of a highly regarded economist, first black woman to be a Fed gov, through the mud, claiming she committed mortgage fraud. But the documents his appointee to run Fannie and Freddie got for him that he said showed fraud don't actually say that. Yet the media pushed it. It's why it's so important that we have media literacy today. And what becomes clear is that right-wing media, center media, left-wing media, we need to get the full perspective of what's going on. Like this. This past week, the Epstein birthday book, we saw Donald Trump's signature. We saw that it was his. The right wing went with it was a forgery. There was multiple other very damaging things in that birthday book, like a close friend of Donald Trump's, a member of Mar-a-Lago, joked about the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein selling Donald Trump a fully depreciated woman for $22,500 in 2003. And then when I use Ground News, which is the source I use to find out if there's bias in a story or if this is being reported on the left or the right or the center, almost no right-wing media reported on that story. Why? Because they build up a cover-up regime for Donald Trump, and they just don't report on things like that. So go to Ground News. It's the research tools that I use. It's a subscriber-funded app and news site, and every day they pull in thousands of articles from around the world and organize them by story, and then show you what the right is reporting, what the center is reporting, what the left is reporting. It is a game changer. As an active, responsible citizen, we must get our news from reliable sources, and especially in Trump's America. Being informed about the facts and media bias, it's the most important thing that you can do. And one of the things that I find interesting is if you look at it, independent media seems to have a higher credibility rating than some of the large conglomerates out there. Doesn't surprise me. So I use the Ground News Vantage subscription plan. It's what I use. Those are all the tools that I need, and I think that it would be a great tool for you to utilize as well. I also utilize their blind spot feature, which I just showed you on that Epstein story, where I uncovered that Ground News told me, that's how I uncovered it, that right-wing media was not basically reporting at all about the Epstein birthday book, other than them claiming that Trump says it's a forgery, case closed, they're not turning over any more Epstein files. So do this. Join us by going to ground.news/MTN. Get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. That's the tools that I use every morning. It's ground.news/MTN and get 40% off that Vantage plan. They are subscriber funded. So you're not only getting a tool that we all need today, you're also supporting our work here on this YouTube channel. That's grund.news/MTN. We pinned it to the link below as well, ground.news/MTN, and get that 40% off. Now, I want to talk about this as well because I think this needs more attention. The plant in Georgia that South Korea was building, that ICE invaded military style and rounded up the 350, 400 South Korean workers who were there. Well, they've left. South Korea chartered a plane, brought them back. This is one of the biggest scandals right now, the biggest scandal in South Korea. South Korea has not signed or agreed to any trade deal with the United States. Remember all of last week, or was it a week and a half ago? We did this great South Korea trade deal. Remember the South Korea, the head of South Korea showed up and was there and was in the Oval Office. Well, guess what? There's no trade deal. I want you to watch what happens when Howard Lutnick is asked, so you got that South Korea trade deal? He's like, no, and he does the Howard Lutnick, like Bernie Madoff lie thing. Here, play this clip.
To the point on Hyundai, so is the Korea trade deal in jeopardy now?
Well, the Koreans didn't sign when the president was in, right? The president came in, you remember that? He came to the White House. Notice how we didn't talk about trade? Because he didn't sign the piece of paper. I mean, the devil is in the details always. Well, I think they saw the Japanese now, so there's no flexibility, right? The Japanese signed the contract. The Koreans either accept that deal or pay the tariffs. Black and white. Pay the tariffs or accept the deal.
But has the immigration raid led to more tension there about?
I think you're going to see
Fine.
President Trump go out and address that. He knows that to build these great factories, we need leadership of people who've built them before if he wants to do it fast. So I think he's going to make a deal with the different countries that when they want to build big here, he'll find a way to get their workers proper work visas, meaning short-term work visas, train Americans, and then head home. I think the president is very clear. I think you're going to see an ABC from him. A, you come in, B, you train Americans, and C, you head on home.
That's so Howard Lutnick right there. And by the way, there are no trade deals with any countries. There's no written, signed, actual documents out there that are signed trade deals that detail that are binding on countries. Show me a contract that says it is a binding agreement signed by the appropriate representatives from each country. No, seriously, show it to me, because that's what's supposed to happen right there. By the way, did you hear about I did a report on it earlier today, but did you hear about the deadly traffic stop where ICE shot and killed an individual? You know, these masked ICE agents look like they're hijacking vehicles and or robbing people and disappearing people. It doesn't look like that's what they're doing. So like someone apparently didn't stop right away as they were getting kidnapped, and boom, ICE took out a gun and just shot and killed the guy. In Chicago, front page right now, Chicago Sun-Times, ICE's deadly traffic stop. We've been warning this was going to happen, and it seems like it's going to happen more and more and more right now. It's horrible, 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 horrible to see. Anyway, we'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
New Midas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.